Welcome back. May 9th, 2010 at 10:21 a.m. on Doug Pagitt Radio. Religious radio that's not quite right, broadcasting live out of the Twin Cities. Hey, we were in, some of you know, we were in Washington, D.C. last week, but we're back in the good hands of the great state of Minnesota today. So it's Mother's Day, right? I've got this conflicted relationship with Mother's Day because I know so many people for whom Mother's Day is a very difficult day. It's hard for them. It doesn't come easily. Their own relationship with their moms, their own relationship with children, the fact that they have children or don't have children, the fact that they've lost children. It is a very conflictual day for an awful lot of people. There's moms who don't feel that the way that their children respond to them on Mother's Day is the way that they would have wanted, so they feel a little bit hurt. There's people who spend a whole lot of effort and money and their moms don't respond the way they want to. So it's just a difficult day for a lot of people. In fact, I'm the pastor at a church and in South Minneapolis called Solomon's Porch, which, by the way, any listeners of the show, we'd love to have you over sometime. If you enjoy the show, you'll like the church even more. It's even better than the show. Some of the finest people on the planet at that church. And I know that tonight when we, because we meet the Sunday evenings, 5 o'clock, I know that people over there are going to be saying, look, Mother's Day is hard for me. And I don't know what to do with it. And I don't want us to make a big deal out of it here at our church because it's one of those days where, you know, it's kind of full of all this pressure, right? So on Mother's Day. So I have this conflictual kind of relationship with Mother's Day. So I'm doing a little research this week trying to say, where did this Mother's Day come from? And it comes from a lot of places. It comes from some Greek history. You know, there's a day in which moms were honored for their birth-giving ability and all this kind of thing. And then I discovered the history of Mother's Day in the United States. And here's where it changes for me. The history of Mother's Day in the U.S. has a whole different vibe to it than I ever knew about. And apparently, again, this is one of those places where Doug just wasn't paying attention in school. Mother's Day became part of the understanding in this country in about 1870. And it was connected to a proclamation by a woman named Julia Ward Howe. Now, some of you are saying, Julia Ward Howe, that name rings a bell. She's the woman who, in addition to some other things, is the one who penned the Battle Hymn of the Republic. So she's got her own sort of reputation. Well, not only was she the one who penned the Battle Hymn of the Republic, but she is one who, as a feminist and as an abolitionist in 1870, wrote a Mother's Day proclamation. You should go online here and search this. Read this thing for yourself. I'm going to read it to you. It's not all that long, but it's dandy. A Mother's Day proclamation that had as much to do with commentary about the American Civil War and the Franco-Prussian War. She was trying to say, as mothers, we should join together and proclaim the kind of world that we want. Mothers around the world and in this country, the United States especially, unite together and let's say something about the kind of world that we want, and we will not be put back on our heels. We will not be put back in our chairs. We will stand up and we will say something important and meaningful. So Mother's Day proclamation was, Mother's Day in 1870, the proclamation wasn't calling for one of these sweet little send cards with great little sappy statements in it. It was a statement to mothers about their place in the political and social system. How about that? Now that's the kind of Mother's Day that it can get a guy like me, an activist and somebody who wants to see the world and says to folks all the time, we have to make decisions about the kind of world we live in. Do we want to take the world we've inherited, or do we want to make the world that we want to see? Look, if I was running this radio show in 1870, first of all, that would have been a miracle because it wasn't this kind of radio in 1870, so that would have been really cool. But if I was running this radio show in 1870 and stumbled across the Mother's Day proclamation, Julia Ward Howe, you know what she would have won? The right on. She gets the right on. So here's the proclamation. It's terrific. Now it reads like one of these big sort of poems. All right, you ready? Here it goes. Mother's Day Proclamation, written by Julia Ward Howe, 1870, as a pacifist reaction to the carnage of the American Civil War, and to her, tied to her feminist belief that women had a responsibility to shape their society at the political level. Here it is, the Mother's Day Proclamation. Now, just compare this. Just compare this to what you see in most of these Mother's Day cards. Like, that's pretty good. Somebody should put this together.
Say hi to your mother for me, okay?
Arise, then, women of this day, begins the Mother's Day Proclamation. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be of water or of tears. So there she's saying it, even if it has to do with whether it's religion or just your own baptism into motherhood. Say firmly, she goes on, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands will not come to us reeking with carnage for kersis and applause. Kersis means for tender affection. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we've been able to teach them of charity and mercy and patience. We, the women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own, and it says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence indicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council, calling the women together. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, each bringing after his own time the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. In the name of womanhood and humanity, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of women without limit of nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient, and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, and the great and general interests of peace. Mother's Day in this country got its name and came into the public view in 1870 through that proclamation. A mom saying, mothers will not be set aside for others to decide the future of this country. We will join in the political system. We will join in creating the kind of world that we want to have, and that is our call. How about that? I mean, what has happened in the last 130 years, 140 years? Where it's just turned into buy $29 worth of flowers if you want to buy the good stuff, or you can get the cheap stuff at flowers.com for $19.99. Mother's Day, might become my favorite holiday of the spring, next to my wife's birthday. So, to mothers everywhere, to those who want to make the world we want, happy Mother's Day. From Doug Pagitt Radio.
And the valley people swore they'd have it for the very